Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of Marv On Air. Today is Thursday, October 31st, 2024, and this is the Marv On Air Halloween Special. We are bringing the heat in this spooky episode as things get scary in the NFL and in the college football world. To help us break it all down, especially going in deep on the Big 12, is Mr. Drake Toll. That interview will come first, and then in the second half of today's episode, do not go anywhere because the boys and I will be spitting scary piss missiles into the mic as we break down the NFL, college football, and our Zero to Heroes for the week. Don't forget, Hunter's Trivia is back, and I hope to God that this week it's better than last, but I cannot assure you that. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Drake Toll.
Look at this guy.
Hammer!
Whoa, close!
Oh my God, I should pop off on your ass about my coat.
We beat family.
Come on, bro. Tell me.
One sec.
Iowa State is going to win this game!
Now I'm a bronsexual and
Go broad.
Joining us now is the host of the Locked On Big 12 podcast and play-by-play broadcaster for the Savannah Party Animals. Not the Savannah Bananas we all know and love, but instead the team that they play every single game, the Savannah Party Animals. And you may be thinking, oh, it's Halloween. That makes sense why he's dressed up that way. No, that's how this guy goes into work every single day. Drake Toll, can you please tell us a little bit about what you're wearing?
So they brought me in and they're like, all right, we want you to be kind of the party animals side of things. How do we differentiate you from any play-by-play guy who's ever exists? Here are your pit vipers and your fur coat. I was like, okay, great. So most of the time you'll find me when it's 98 degrees in Norfolk, Virginia during a 3-game stretch, or 48 degrees at Fenway Park in Boston wearing a onesie, a fur coat, and this. And over the last year, that has been my entire life in sports broadcast. I never thought it would come to this, but I'm so damn glad it did.
Well, I mean, it looks amazing. Obviously, you pull it off quite well. I saw the initiation. What'd you make of that? I mean, did it ruin the leopard? What is this, a
dude,
shawl?
we lost a coat. We lost a damn good coat day one. Yeah, we walked in. They're like, hey, can we do almost no, the verbiage was not hazing. It was a happy hello and a welcome to Banana Ball. And they made me – so I was in a fraternity when I went to Baylor, and this reminded me so much of my 8 weeks of hell. They made me go to Walmart and pick up all of the stuff, the like flour and eggs and all confetti that would be poured on me by the team. And it actually kind of rocked. It was a really good bonding moment as we all picked up this soup that was covering the field after it was over. And then from there, it was game on. I was a broadcaster for the Bananas, the Party Animals, and carrying this sport of banana ball from, Tampa Bay to Peoria to Boston to Philadelphia.
To Des Moines. I heard you were in the state of Iowa. What'd you think? Principal Park.
I was there on the weekend of the Cyhawk game, which rocked. When the field goal goes in, I'm standing there on my phone in the dugout because obviously I cover the Big 12, follow the Big 12 closely, and you hear these pockets of people booing from different parts of the stadium, like distraught over what had just happened. And then other pockets of people, you see like from section 108 to section 110 is a guy stands up in an Iowa State jersey and starts air high-fiving the guy who's 2 sections over because he just watched it on his phone. It was so cool to be in Des Moines during that because there are so many people in Des Moines that are both Iowa State and Iowa fans. And then Iowa State comes back and wins the game. That was the coolest part of the entire weekend. Also, didn't know, news to me, brewing facility on the campus of Iowa State, brewing facility in Ames, damn good beer. I had a lot of it. I enjoyed my time in Iowa.
So you take the Party Animals, the party part of that to heart. It sounds like the whole team does from what I've seen on some other conversations you've had.
Yeah, so that's the big thing with the Bananas guys. They don't really go out too often. The Party Animals kind of embody that brand outside of the baseball field, outside of the banana ball field. And it's not that we do anything crazy or raunchy or anything that's completely anti-family that I couldn't say on the air, but there are nights where we all go out together. We have a couple beers, and that's most nights on tour, actually. You fit kind of that Party Animals vibe. And like, we were in Miami. Our last game was in Miami, and the sun came up. And we were like, guys, we haven't gone to bed yet. And then we immediately went on a cruise, Banana Land at sea. And we actually got off of that about a week ago. And that was the ultimate party at sea with all these guys. So they fit the brand. They're the most fun-loving, family-friendly guys on the field especially. But after the games, we love to have beers together and hang out.
So I saw that you've done a lot of actual real sports talk, like sportscasting, obviously Locked On, very professional brand. I've watched quite a bit. Actually, I've been watching it for a long time now. And I'm just kind of curious, how does the professional side of sportscasting, kind of differ from the Party Animals? Because that's what Savannah is known for, right? The Bananas are known for being just different from everything else. That's the point of their brand. What does it look like behind the mic?
Oh, dude, I could have way more fun doing the Party Animals games, the Bananas games, any of these Banana Ball games, just given the fact of, from the fan experience of getting to go sign autographs pregame or postgame and meet these people who come from across the world to see the Bananas, the Party Animals play. And then, like, Big Justice and AJ. I'm hugging Big Justice 2 weeks ago, and it's this surreal moment of, I'm never going to be able to explain to my parents how meaningful this is to me, but I'm just embracing Big Justice. And his mom is like, hey, I got a video of you guys dancing together. Here's my number. I can text it to you. I was like, this is Big Justice's mom. I can't, what, we were in Baton Rouge months ago, and Livy Dunn, it's like, hey, we need someone to interview Livy Dunn. Guy in fur coat and glasses, go interview Livy Dunn. Or, MLB legends from Jonathan Papelbon to Roger Clemens to D. Strange Gordon, who was in Miami with us, hey, guy in fur coat, go talk to that guy, go interview that guy, get to rub elbows with from those kind of baseball caliber players to John Cena type celebrities. That's the Banana Ball side of things, that fun side of things. Then on the actual sports media side, I might be up until 2:30 Eastern time when BYU is wrapping up a game against Arizona, because I've got to record a podcast that goes up the next morning. So my whole deal is watch every college football game that I can outside of when I'm working for the Bananas, and then use that as the journalistic side of what I do. And it's an escape. It's an escape from I think the word I've used more often than not is whimsy of what Banana Ball is. While it is still featuring legitimate athletes who were first-round draft picks in the MLB draft, I get to have a lot of fun in a fur coat, then go home and talk into a microphone about college football, which is an escape from how different Banana Ball is.
Well, before we jump into college football, I'm curious, did you meet the Rizzler?
I had a double chocolate chip chunk cookie.
Double chunk chocolate cookie.
I was given 5 big booms. And a
5.
chicken bake. There were a lot of things that I got to do with Big Justice and AJ. So funny. There's a dude who plays for the Bananas. His name is Rack. They call him Coach Rack. He's like this big baseball YouTuber. And I'm in the coach's office at where the Marlins play, Lone Depot Park. I'm in the coach's office, and I hear in a distance from Rack, everybody in the locker room dressed. Everybody dressed. And like in that moment, everybody's putting all their clothes on, making sure they're cleaned up. And he goes, hope y'all are dressed because I'm bringing the boom. And unbeknownst to us, surprise, Big Justice, AJ, they walk in the locker room. AJ's like, yeah, we brought the boom. And then Big Justice walks around to every player in the locker room. Boom, boom, boom. Legendary moment. No Rizzler, but I feel like the moment was still made by the energy of AJ and Big Justice.
I mean, how could you not? Those guys, they bring the boom everywhere they go. Their dance is going
Fallon
viral
this
in college
week.
football.
They were on Jimmy Fallon this week, and I was just hanging out with those guys.
It's like when who was the football streamer? What was his name?
Oh, is the guy with the glasses? That guy?
Gosh, he was Speed, right? No, not Speed, but
Sketch.
Sketch. Yes, Sketch.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that guy,
When he was on that run, it was like, dude, he just like won't go away. And these guys are everywhere. I love it. I'm a big fan. Rizzler, I remember when he was wearing the Black Panther costume, went to start it all off, man. He was
Grimace to Hawk Tua to Sketch to what a summer we had.
honestly.
Wow.
It's been unreal. And speaking of the summer, so you go to all these massive stadiums.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite? I'm not a big baseball guy. I don't know. Are you a big baseball guy? And then do you kind of live in that
baseball.
culture of
I
those
hate
stadiums?
Baseball. I can't stand baseball.
Okay.
My sister's a Baylor softball commit. Growing up, we did a lot of softball. Went to the College Softball World Series. My dad got drafted to play for the Blue Jays in '94, so I was supposed to be really good at baseball. He turned it down to play college football. I wasn't an athlete whatsoever, so I just resented baseball, as did my father. He played too much of it. So I vowed I worked on Cape Cod for a summer doing play-by-play up there in the last best league, like just quintessential. Then the next summer went to the Alaska Baseball League, lived in Anchorage for 3 months, explored the mountains and watched baseball and thought, wow, I hate baseball. And I don't work in baseball. I work in Banana Ball, which is 2 hours, fast-paced, 11 distinct rules. So it's different than baseball to the point that I love being here. But my favorite stadium, Fenway was cool getting to walk on the grass. I mean, it just being on that playing surface, and then the grounds crew pulls me aside like, "Hey man, come with us." They walk me inside the Green Monster, hand me a Sharpie like, "Dude, you made it. Sign this." That's the Green Monster. So
That's
can't
incredible.
replace that moment. Houston, when Roger Clemens came out to pitch, there's 42,000 people, this sold-out stadium, MLB Park, and you're looking at this expanse of a building that the Bananas have sold out. That was neat. Won't ever replace that feeling. But I thought my favorite ballpark was Cleveland.
Ooh,
The Cleveland Guardians, Progressive Field, because we walk in, they have a big buck hunter in their visiting locker room, in their clubhouse. And I was like, yeah. So I'm just playing big buck hunter for a while. This is the same big buck hunter that Derek Jeter probably played when he was visiting the stadium. And I don't know what it was about that. I was like, yeah, all right, fine. This is my favorite stadium.
Yeah, no, I drove by. Didn't you do? I think we both did when we drove out. We went to the Whiteout game last year, and they have boy, their stadium is sick just from the outside. We've seen a few professional stadiums from the outside, but we have not gotten the inside look per se. Before we kind of divert from your role as a sportscaster, I'm just kind of curious. Obviously, you've talked about it's a very different preparation. Everything in it just really, really different, and that's really what Banana Ball brings to the table. What is your favorite part, everything encompassed, that Banana Ball brings that makes it better than actual baseball?
I think the best piece of Banana Ball when it comes to a viewing experience as someone who likes sports is the every inning counts thing. I went to the World Series last year when the Rangers played the Diamondbacks, big Rangers fan, and it was the only game the Rangers lost. They lost 9-1. And once they got down 7-1 in the fourth inning, I'm thinking, I paid $900 for these tickets, and I'm not even going to see a game. And I didn't see a game. It was a blowout. In Banana Ball, though, every inning counts. So you score 9 runs in the first, and it's 1-0. Like, you won the first inning. So the game keeps going. Fans are never disengaged. You paid money to watch a game that from start to finish is going to be tight or competitive. And then in the ninth inning, every run counts as a point. So we do call it points. People get kind of weird about that. I say, oh, the Banana Ball game ended 4 points to 3 points. But it's how it goes when you win innings, when every inning counts. That just keeps you the whole time. That's honestly the best part of the whole deal is, yeah, the 2-hour time limit's fun. No walks is fun. No mound visits. You stay in the box. Fans catch a foul ball for an out. We saw so many cool ones. Listen to this. You ready for this? This is crazy. When we were in Houston, 42,000 people, ninth inning, high leverage, tie game. Drew Gillespie's the guy's name who's on the mound. Throws a pitch, foul ball into the stands. Fan reaches down from the second deck and catches it over everything for an out in a huge situation. Fan's name, Michael Gillespie, Drew's brother. The pitcher's brother.
Well, that's awesome.
That ball could have been hit anywhere, and the dude's brother catches the ball for an out at an MLB stadium. That's what makes Banana Ball cool is you have moments like that, and every inning counts.
And you can't write a better script than that. Obviously,
it gives me chills every time, yeah.
Yeah, talk about script in the NFL all the time.
What would you say to people who say that Banana Ball is like the WWE of baseball? Where obviously not in terms of like a fighting wrestling perspective, but it's more of an entertainment aspect than actual sport competition.
Yeah, I would point you to Jake Skoll. And there are so many people who bring that up every weekend. They're like, is this real? Then you show up and you see dudes like Jake Skoll, who was the number 15 overall draft pick in the MLB draft in 2010, played 7 years of minor league baseball, played 4 years of college football at the University of Georgia. Dude is an athlete in the purest form. And after 7 years at the AAA level was like, you know what? Is this going to be my life? I don't want it to be. I'm going to go play in front of sold-out stadiums every weekend and further my career as an athlete at a level that is still very high and that people are much more engaged in than they are AAA baseball. Same goes for a guy like D.R. Meadows, who wasn't drafted, was like a D2 kid out of college. I've watched him throw his glove off during a fly ball to center field and then do a backflip and catch it barehanded. And conceptualizing an athlete at the pro level trying to do that is just hard. Like I really struggle to see anybody in MLB catch a ball doing a backflip, much less without a glove on. So I think it's that level of competition that's been raised by the players that are currently in the organization that makes it feel real when you actually get to see it in person.
Well, and I know you've mentioned, too, that it's not – people equate it to, like, the Harlem Globetrotters, right? But the Globetrotters won every single game, and the Party Animals do walk away with wins. And so I think that's part of it. My girlfriend actually did go to the game in Des Moines.
Wow, bang.
Yeah, so that was really cool that we were having you on. She was pretty excited to see what you have to say. And we've also gone to the Iowa Cubs play at Principal Park.
Yeah.
So we've gone to a game there for both. Well, she's gone to both. I've only been to one. And the thing that I collected from the baseball game, the true baseball game at Principal Park was that I was a bigger fan of everything between, right? The run around the back, doing pulls, or they didn't really have that much, unlike a banana ball game. But I got her notes here. She liked the fun activities outside of baseball. Specific note on the baby racing on the field there. And then she said a lot going on just at all times. I'm curious what it's like to call a game. I haven't been to a specific, I've never actually seen a game. I've only heard of the lore. But is it really that chaotic? Is it tough for you to call a game like that?
Yeah, it's interesting sometimes because the entertainment aspect is something we want to capture on the broadcasts themselves. So we were on ESPN in August for a 3-game stretch, and we sat down in these board meetings prior and said, how do we capture what banana ball is and how it's different than baseball? So for a guy calling the game, I want to make sure that when there's a flair bartender who's coaching, they're actively pouring drinks and coaching third base at a Party Animals game, and at the first base side, there's a dancing first base coach who's doing these insane flips as they help monitor first base, that I not only give you the guy who's standing in the box, hits a grounder to the third baseman, who does a front flip somersault into the ball, then throws to first base and gets the out. But you also collect the fact that Santa Claus is umpiring first base while that base coach dances, while the third baseman did the somersault, and while the third base coach is pouring alcoholic drinks. That is my job, to try to bring all of that to you at once. Very hard. I think it takes a specific type of person who's willing to throw out all the rules of typical broadcast, which I'm more than happy to do. I think it's so boring the way that most guys call games. I consider it a distinct honor to get to deliver all of those certain things that are going on at once.
Okay, so this is we interviewed a guy who's studying to do actual sportscasting last week. And we asked him kind of about like what's going on in the current landscape. I don't know how much time you have to watch actual NFL games, because you are kind of locked in or locked on, if you will, to a college game. Yes, you saw that. And what is your take on not only maybe Tom Brady, but just the general, like obviously Al Michaels is getting a lot of heat for his kind of lame down calls. He's just so old at this point. He's a nostalgic icon, but his game is not quite what it used to be. Do you have time to watch those games, and what do you make of those guys at the top of the top?
Yeah, I watch a lot of college football on Saturdays, a lot of NFL on Sundays too. And I just get bored. The NFL is a great TV product. I think college is a better in-person product. Personally, the crowds are so electric everywhere you go. I watch NFL games, and with or without audio, I don't think I really care. What did that add to the game for me? And those guys are pros. They're great for the general public. I wouldn't consider myself the general public when listening to those games. I'd rather listen to the home team's radio announcer, because they give more passion, more energy, more emotion during big plays, especially that benefit their team. Like, oh my gosh, Brad Shams, the guy who calls games for the Cowboys, breaks every rule in the book. 3 weeks ago, Dak throws a pick, and here's how Shams does it. He goes, Prescott back, fires across the middle, intercepted. Another interception for Prescott. I don't know where the ball is. I don't know who picked it off. I don't know if they took it back for a touchdown. I have no idea. Shams is just, can you believe it? Another one. And I agree with him. I'm right there with him. Like, God damn, again, another and then the color analyst goes, yeah, Sham, he just missed his read right there, but you know where it's easy to judge from? And they both simultaneously say, 300 feet in the air. And I got chills. You don't get that on an NFL Sunday. That's just listening to the home team's radio broadcast. So those are the guys that I'm more in tune to, the ones who have the funny quips and just don't do it the normal way.
Do you remember Paul Allen in the Colts-Vikings comeback a few years ago?
Legendary, dude.
Stephon Gilmore needs to be ejected. Get him off the field. Like, that's not ever going to come out of the mouth of Tom Brady.
No,
like, it's just
no chance. No chance.
So
and those guys have the honor of calling Super Bowls. That's cool. If I don't ever call a Super Bowl, but I get to actually have fun, good. I'm good. Cool by me.
And that's exactly why you're in the Party Animals spot. I think that's the perfect spot for you. You found the perfect medium, not only between the Party Animals on that crazy side and the actual Locked On podcast, where it's a little bit more serious. Speaking of the Locked On podcast, I think it's time for me to take these off.
Oh, there we go. It's journalism time, baby.
Yes,
Boom.
We are getting a little bit more journalistic integrity here. Look at this. The background is phenomenal. That is the background for your Locked On podcast, as far as I am aware.
Yeah, it is.
I shouldn't have switched to you right as you were taking it off. That's totally on me, but it is a sick background. It is very, very cool. But I mean, I guess I'm kind of curious. What was it like to transition between the Baylor podcast and then into the Big 12, where you're taking on, at the time maybe it was 10 teams or whatever. I know you kind of transitioned. The whole conference realignment has been wild. But what was it like to go from one team to a whole conference?
Yeah, kind of pretty fun, actually, because I go from, the middle of May where you're like, basketball's wrapped up, baseball's kind of going on. And it was neat to talk about the second string DBs for Baylor because I got to be one of the most knowledgeable people on earth about Baylor football. But now with the Big 12, I can talk about, Deion Sanders one day, and then the next day talk about the collapse of Utah, or talk about how, Rocco Beck's the most underrated quarterback in the Big 12 conference, or talk about how, Matt Campbell deserves a lifetime contract at Iowa State for what he's done, and though he's gotten a lot of flack over the last couple of seasons.
What a sweatshirt. Oh, my.
You just picked up on this?
Yeah, the fur coat. It made it tough for me to see. Yeah. That is
I own one for like almost every Big 12. I found this at a Goodwill, Salvation Army in Des Moines, Iowa, and I brought it back with me. During my Des Moines trip. I was like, I got to go find one of those.
What a pull.
That's that's kind of my deal is getting to cover every team. I get to have an opinion on every team in the conference and do these power rankings every week and have feedback from different fan bases. There are Utah fans that hate me. There are Kansas State fans that hate me. There are UCF fans that hate me. Then there are Utah fans that love me, and Kansas State fans or UCF fans that love the show. So that dynamic is way cooler than being just at Baylor where you only get to interact with really one group of fans.
Agreed. I saw you were on like this BYU, almost like college game day set. It was like a month ago or so. And you mentioned you did not think Utah was going to make the college football playoff. This was before the injury to their quarterback. And obviously that plays a big role in it. I think they're officially out at this point. What do you make of the top few teams now that are left in the Big 12 after you made that bold prediction and were correct?
First, sometimes I pander, and in the moment where you're standing in front of 200 rabid BYU students, I talked to the producers beforehand. It's like, hey, I want to do a helmet pick 'em at the end. Let's chug something. We really tried to build out the segment, and I told them, hey, I'm going to make a Utah joke. I'm going to kind of dig at Utah a bit. Is that okay? And they're like, dude, as much as you want to dig at Utah, do it. So that prediction was just kind of loosely based on me being in front of an entire BYU crowd, but man. When it comes to where we sit college football, also so cool what BYU is doing, so cool what Iowa State's doing, where the Big 12 is in football right now. And again, getting to cover it, I get to wax poetic about both of those schools. I really am excited to see a BYU Iowa State matchup in the Big 12 championship. It's what the people deserve. So
it's coming.
That's what I'm vying for. Kind of funny I usually in season with the Bananas, I wear a lot of bracelets. I've always got they're down my arm. Anything that fans make, I always promise I'll wear it for the whole season. And we're at BYU. And one of the guys during the show was like, dude, you got so many bracelets right there. That's crazy. What are they for? And I'm explaining it to him. And another one of the hosts, we're live on the air, hands me a bracelet off of his arms. Like, here, you can take mine. And I put it on and I go to read it. And, what's the first thing you're going to do? It's got words on it. You're going to read it. It says, Liddy Titty on it.
Nice.
And in any other format, if I wasn't at BYU in front of the Cougar faithful, I'd have been like, Liddy Titty, yeah. But I go to read it out loud, and I was like, cool, thanks for the bracelet. Very nice. And that was that.
Oh, that is awesome. So we got a group of 4 guys who are on here consistently, and I will go straight to Mr. Chase's question, I believe. This is, are there any hopes for a Big 12 team that can actually compete in the new 12-team playoff? Obviously, we're probably only going to get one team in. Redden and I have sat down, broke it down. What's the best-case scenario for the Big 12? I think it's probably an undefeated matchup in the Big 12 championship. One loses. Maybe they can sneak in as a 12 seed. Then obviously, depending if there's a better conference champion, you'll probably get the 4 and then maybe the 12 or something like that. But can they compete? Like, the SEC is obviously really, really good.
So I'll say this. The first idea that I had, let me pull up the metrics and see because I don't often give my own opinion, which is probably valid. I give very often the metrics. And what they would tell you is that BYU would beat Notre Dame on a neutral field by a final score of 26-25. And that's not just competing, but that's based on what the computer would predict winning. And this all comes from collegefootballinsiders.com. Reason being, BYU is a top 20 team defensively against the rush. They're a top 10 team against the pass. Those in efficiency and defense wins championships. We can't say that up until but it's a Big 12 defense. No. These metrics don't just tell you, what do they do in the Big 12? They tell you overall, based on their strength of record, what their efficiencies are. And BYU is a very good football team. Same goes for Iowa State, who is pretty even with BYU in almost all those categories. They're effectively a coin flip. Iowa State is actually better than BYU in 3 of the major 4 efficiency categories. So I do believe that if you put Iowa State on the field with Notre Dame, BYU on the field with a Notre Dame, who many have in their college football playoff right now, or a Texas A&M, that the Big 12 has as good a shot as anybody. Can they win the whole thing? I don't think so. Can they pull off what Boise State did in 2007? Yes, and even more. What TCU did in 2022? Yes, and even more. So while I wouldn't pick a Big 12 team to win the national championship, BYU, Kansas State, Iowa State, even maybe Colorado, who's got the Heisman Trophy winner and a quarterback who's a Heisman caliber quarterback, could win games in the college football playoff.
Yeah, you said something there. You said Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy winner. I assume you're not referring to Shadur. What's your argument here on Travis Hunter? What's your approach here?
Love it. I mean, there is no one else in the country who's winning offensive and defensive player of the week for their conference. This is something we have not seen in generations of football, a guy who can do it at this high of a level on both sides of the ball. And yeah, 2 weeks ago, the Jonty kid from Boise State was making noise. Where did he really go? We haven't talked about him in a bit here, about 10 days where it's been quiet. And then elsewhere across the country, I mean, you want to go, there are plenty of quarterbacks who are good, but they're not playing defense, and they're also not blowing me away statistically. Nobody is throwing a 5,000-yard season or 50 touchdowns this year. Travis Hunter is the best athlete in college football, and I think that's the kind of guy that deserves the Heisman Trophy.
Do you think he would have won in, say, any of the last 5 years? Obviously, he was playing last year. He didn't win it last year, obviously. But is it due to a lack of quarterback production otherwise? You think that he could win it this year?
I don't know if you could say, because Alabama has a wide receiver who wins the Heisman, right? I think in that with Devontae Smith, I'm going to say Joe Burrow, to me, was the last one that I thought, okay, no question. Dude's a Heisman Trophy winner. His stats were unreasonable, ungodly. Devontae Smith, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, even Jaden Daniels, who was on a football team that kind of floundered there at the end. It wasn't an elite football team at that point. I struggle to say, oh, yeah, Bryce Young was so dominant. He has to be the Heisman Trophy winner over Travis Hunter. I probably wouldn't give you that. And I never thought Caleb Williams, who I saw him benched live when he played for Oklahoma when they played at Baylor. I don't know if a guy who was on, again, kind of a floundering football team should be the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, no, that's, and Baylor, obviously, it's rough to get benched against Baylor.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, we won the Sugar Bowl that year, long ago.
Long ago.
Quick question on that. Would that have been when you guys had Matt Rule then?
No, that was Dave Aranda, which is the craziest thing. Big Dave, man. Dave comes out, has the greatest year in school history, 12-2. We were at the Sugar Bowl playing Ole Miss. I was a junior, and I had a couple too many cervezas. I have been told that as I was walking out of the stadium, I was looking at women, children, the elderly. No one was safe, and screaming "Lane Train," which objectively hilarious, by the way. All my friends were so embarrassed. They were like, "We're never taking you anywhere again." I was like, "Guys, that's funny. That's good." That's awesome. We beat Ole Miss 21-7, held them to 7 points, and that was a good season. And then Dave Aranda decided to suck, and he's possibly going to get fired.
Well, I know Iowa State's not in that camp. People talked about firing Matt Campbell. I always want to say Matt Canada. It's Matt
coach,
Campbell.
Matt Campbell. After that Miami of Ohio game, that was
was the biggest one. And are we going to talk about the kick? No, but that was a big part of that. And so, what do you make of Iowa State team this year? I'm asking selfishly because I do think we are going to win the national title. I picked it before the season. I picked it after we beat Iowa. I picked it every single week now that we just don't seem to lose. We don't necessarily have a hard schedule, but we do have Kansas State, to close out the year. What do you make of this team? Not only what they've done, but what they could do.
I do think, and as I pull up, I'm going to lean again on where Iowa State ranks nationally, that you can make the case for them winning games in the college football playoff. Like I talked about for BYU, Iowa State defensively, 4th against the pass in EPA, 20th against the rush. Offensively, 11th running the football in the nation from an efficiency standpoint, 23rd throwing the ball. They're just a very even keel football team. And you see, the only time they've really diverted from this dominant fashion is kind of that Iowa game and the UCF game. Otherwise, it's been this complete offense, defense, special teams. And when you look at both UCF and the Iowa game, what they have proven is that Rocco Beck's an athlete enough. He can go win you the game when you're down late. I asked that all year long about Avery Johnson. Hey, if they're down by 10, if they're down by 14, can he go on a game-winning drive and do it? He did it against Colorado. Rocco Beck, can he do it? He did it against both Iowa and UCF. Jake Retzlaff, can he do it? He did it against Oklahoma State. if you have that kind of quarterback, if you have that kind of offense, and then a defense that carries the slack most weeks, you can compete with anybody. Iowa State, if they go 12-0 in the regular season, which that's on the table right now, win all the games in front of you, you control your own destiny, and BYU goes 12-0, both teams get into the college football playoff. And then there's another wild scenario where, like, if Colorado goes 10-2, Kansas State wins the Big 12 championship at 12-1, Iowa State's 11-1, BYU's 12-1, then you've got a bunch of teams out there who at least are in the conversation, and any talk is good for the Big 12.
Are you a bigger fan of the 12-team playoff or the 4-team playoff?
12. And it's controversial. I get it. It's controversial. And maybe it'll only ever be the top 4 that win. I just love elite level college football. And I've been to New Year's Six bowls that sucked because no one showed up, because at this point they were like, oh, well, we missed the college football playoff. Who cares now? The reason I like 12 is because it doesn't dilute the regular season as much as many people said. Instead, it makes it more entertaining in week 9. Oh, my team's lost 2 games. But because I can still win the conference championship, I have something to hope for and care about. I want to show up in week 10, despite my team being 7-2 or 8-2. BCS era, well, maybe we go to a bowl game, a cool bowl game. Now you can still win a national championship. That's on the table. I don't mind that. And an example I give, remember that insane game between, I think, like the Rams and the Bills on Thursday Night Football like 3 years ago? Everybody goes, it's 52-51 or something wild score. That was a regular season game, sold out crowd, great atmosphere, great environment that didn't matter for the playoffs. Both teams made the playoff. So if you're going to tell me, well, the regular season's not near as fun and no one cares because you can lose and have a mulligan, the NFL's the same way, dude, and those dudes still show up and play classic football games.
Yeah, that one was
wild.
That one was insane.
Everyone remembers where they were for that, which is so weird, but everyone remembers that specific game.
That one, and the color rush jerseys too. They all yellow from the Rams.
See, on a Thursday night.
You talked about a undefeated BYU, undefeated Iowa State Big 12 championship game. Yeah. We selfishly have kind of came up with this like pipe dream idea. What if we go undefeated and then lose the Big 12 championship game, still get in, are one of those 5 through 8 seeds, and get a first round home playoff game? I go to Iowa State. I'm not a huge Iowa State fan. I'm a Nebraska fan. That's why I was a little curious about Matt Rule earlier. But selfishly, I would love to see us lose in the Big 12 championship game, get the 7 seed or something, get that home playoff game. How likely do you think that could possibly be?
And also, what is your opinion on having a home playoff game? That's across the board has been just that is one of the best moves that college football has made in recent years.
It's the coolest thing in the world. It's the coolest thing in the world. It's rocks. Ames, Iowa hosts a playoff game. All the pundits that want to use it as, oh, wow, South Bend or we get to go to Columbus, Ohio, and there's going to be a playoff game. No, Ames, Iowa. Give me the playoffs in Ames, Iowa. I think it rocks. Or give me the playoffs in Provo, Utah. Either way that flips, it's going to be so damn cool to see one of those two teams in that scenario get to host a college football playoff game. Now, on the flip side, Iowa State's going to Bryant-Denny Stadium. Or, Iowa State's traveling to Austin, Texas to play UT. That's where it's going to get tough. But if you're on the beneficial side of the college football playoff going on campus, it's going to be neat. And not that I would rather have that than a bye. Any head coach is going to tell you, give me the bye. Give me the bye week. I don't care about the home playoff game if I get a bye. However, from a fan standpoint, especially if you build momentum and keep winning, maybe we see, as we do often in the MLB now, the team that doesn't play during the wild card can come out really flat because the other guys, they had 3 games to get hot or to get hotter. Maybe college football plays the same way. We don't know yet.
Yeah, no, that'll be fun, though. Either way, wherever we are, home playoff game atmospheres, that's going to be you're not going to be able to beat that.
Especially in year 1. We've never seen it before.
No.
Ames could potentially burn to the ground. There's a non-zero chance.
I like your point there of a team like, Iowa State, or maybe if Boise State, they're not going to be at home, but a smaller school as opposed to an Ohio State, that would be absolutely electric. You mentioned Texas there. They just left the Big 12. The way things are shaping up now, it's a really fun conference. It really is, top to bottom. What do you think were who do you think were the biggest expectation exceeders and the biggest letdowns thus far in the season? A lot of games left, but so far.
4 of the 5 teams ranked in the top 5 preseason of the Big 12 are below 500 right now. Kansas State's the only one who has met expectation. Kansas sucks. Utah reeks. Oklahoma State's terrible. And Arizona is putrid. Those are, 4 great superlatives to give those teams, by the way.
That was impressive.
I don't think there's anybody more disappointing than Oklahoma State, actually. You could argue Utah, no doubt, and most people would. The reason that I say Oklahoma State, Utah was bringing back most of their production from 2022. Those guys didn't play in 23 due to injuries, so their biggest stars were going to be guys who hadn't played in a year, and they're just so injury prone. Shocking. Like no one is really stunned that they are banged up, though they're stunned that Utah has been as bad as they are. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, they were healthy last year. They went 10-4. They won 10 football games and brought back 20 starters, the Doak Walker Award winner, their quarterback, and 3 elite level wide receivers, and said, you know what, guys, just kidding. We might go winless in Big 12 play. That is hard to do. Certainly those schools, those 4 that I mentioned, are the ones who have been the bottom dwellers when it comes to underachieving. And then for BYU and Iowa State, I am more impressed with BYU. They could have very well missed a bowl game. I don't think Iowa State ever would have done that. It felt like the floor for the Cyclones was 6-7 wins, which would have been disappointing. Floor for BYU was 3-9, 4-8. Fire the coach. Instead, they're now a top 10 team. The AP poll doesn't exist. It's a fugazi. No one's counting. The points don't matter. Those guys don't watch football, and it's a complete and awful train wreck. But Iowa State and BYU, there's nobody else doing it at that high of a level in the Big 12 as far as overachieving, though Colorado, Cincinnati, Arizona State also deserve a nod.
100%. And then obviously as we kind of move into the end of football season here, you will still be covering basketball, right, with the Big 12?
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, absolutely.
What do you make of that? This is very preemptive. I'm just curious. Obviously, Iowa State, well, we got like news the other week that we were top, obviously 10 in football at that time, and then 10 in women's and men's basketball, cross country, which cool. And then also our wrestling team at the time, not quite yet, but probably will be. What do you make of the basketball scene in the Big 12?
Well, first, I cherish that. When I went to Baylor, there was a point, and I graduated in 23, so I only recently got out, but I got 4 pretty good years of athletics, one of those being kind of that same spot. Football goes to the Sugar Bowl. Women's basketball is in top 5 in the country. Men's basketball rattles off 23 straight wins, and then COVID hits. Then my sophomore year, men's basketball wins the national championship. Football wins the Sugar Bowl. Women's basketball was always competitive under Kim Mulkey. So that is a level of athletics that when you're a student or when you're there is unmatched. To get to go to those games is awesome. And Hilton Magic is going to be just as electric this year as it always is, obviously. Big 12 basketball, Kansas, the kind of their league until proven otherwise, and it a bit was. Last year they finished 5th in the Big 12, which is the worst they have under Bill Self. This year they reloaded with depth. Last year that was their issue. They didn't have a ton of depth. That they were banged up going into the NCAA tournament. For Iowa State, gotta prove that we can go be a Final Four caliber team. Like TJ Otzelberger's very good. They have the efficiency ratings would say that Iowa State's defense is number 1, number 2, number 3 in the country every year, but we got to use that in March. It's no longer a cool, what a great story. We really sucked. We hired this guy. Now we're good. It has to be, oh, cool, even better story. We sucked. We hired this guy. We're competing for a national championship.
I'd love to see it. I really would. Well, Drake, thank you so much for your time. We do have one last question for you coming from the couch. I know you're very, very busy, and you got the sick backdrop there, so I know just kind of what you've taken out of your day to talk to us, but Red does have one more question for you.
Yeah, last question here. You said you don't like to put your opinion out there too much, but you do cover the entire Big 12. When all these new teams, I'm going to name drop Utah, they came in saying they're going to run this new league, just not only football, basketball, but just for their athletic departments as a whole. If you had to give your top 2-3 athletic departments as a whole in the current Big 12, who are you taking?
Well, there's only one that has a top 10 football. Again, I hate the AP poll.
Yes.
None of them exist. One AP poll voter this week, this is crazy. I wish I could name drop him, but I'll spare him. Took Navy, who he had at 22 last week, moved them up to 21 after they got killed by Notre Dame, left Kansas State out entirely, and then put Notre Dame above both BYU and Iowa State. I just don't get why we give
what
any
you're saying
nod.
is we all 3 deserve votes at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Bear, come here, my dog. We're going to let him vote, and it's going to be better than whatever that guy put. There's only one school in the Big 12 that has top 10 football, women's basketball, men's basketball. It's Iowa State. The baseball team could be better. But Iowa State right there they haven't lost in years.
Hey, I thought you weren't a baseball guy. What are we doing?
I'm not. I can see why Iowa State fans wouldn't be either. The athletic department there is certainly up there. Jamie Pollard, crazy. Then I look at BYU. They're competitive in every sport, from soccer to volleyball to baseball even, they're at least competitive, and then football's been elite. Men's basketball was a top 10, top 15 last year as well. So BYU, Iowa State are both up there. And BYU's got one of the nation's fastest growing religions behind it too, and that gives you a big old boost. Both of those are in my they're probably my top two, no doubt. And then past that, it gets kind of a hodgepodge. I have a question for you guys though before I have to go.
Okay. Hey, we are always open to questions.
How many, you can write this down for the other guys that usually join the show. How many dates, I've been seeing a new gal here recently. How many dates before you feel as though it's appropriate to drop a number 2 in her bathroom?
That is a risky play. So
it really is. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I dated my girlfriend for 5 years now. That's all the way back to high school. So that's totally different.
You're crapping everywhere. Like at this point, you crap wherever you want. Yeah.
It's not her place; it's her parents' place, right? So then I got siblings I can blame it on. I'm not really versed in the 20+ dating scene. As long as you don't pull a Jim Irsay, I'd say you're probably fine. But what do you think, you're right?
I think it depends on the girl, but I think you're good like after like a month.
Okay.
Before that, I feel like you're still kind of feeling things out. Maybe hold off a little bit.
Yeah, if you really got to go, and then pulling tricks like double flush.
Yep.
Close the lid. No stains.
Candle if they got one.
Yeah.
Locate the perfume.
Oh, if they've got poopery, that's how you know she's a keeper. If she's got poopery right there, it does mean that she poops, which is a downside to me. I don't take girls that poop, but at some point you've got to accept it, and that can be months. I'm a multi-month guy. I really am cautious about the number 2s at a woman's house. Just wanted to get some feedback, make sure I wasn't doing things completely wrong.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably fine. Did you take her out? Where'd you go on the first date?
Oh, we went and got drinks down by the river here in Savannah,
Do you live down there?
Yeah, I live in Savannah. That's where I am right now with my Big 12 backdrop, miles and miles from any Big 12 school.
Well, hey, Cal and Stanford are in the ACC.
Right, and I'm hosting Locked On Big 12. It's all the equivalent. I've been to like 5 Big 12 games, though, and I'm going to the Holy War in a couple weeks. I'll go to the Big 12 championship and see Iowa State play, so we're good.
Hey, maybe if Iowa State plays, we'll meet you there. How's that sound?
You guys there. We'll do a live podcast.
You'll have to come up for when we hopefully lose the Big 12 championship and then host a first-round playoff game.
Yeah, then I'll be right there at Ames, Iowa, drinking whatever that beer was because it was good.
Hey, Iowa does beer right. That's the end of the story. That's really it. Well, thank you so much, Drake. You are a total badass. We appreciate the hell out of you. And ladies and gentlemen, you can find him hosting the Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12, and then also doing play-by-play for the Party Animals in baseball season, I guess. Is that baseball season, or when do you guys even go?
We are like February to October. We make our own rules. February to October, so we'll be back in February. I'm going to go watch my coworker play Adult League softball. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Boy, oh boy, Drake Toll broke it all down for us in the second half there with our journalistic integrity. That was a lot of fun, but obviously the first half looked a lot more like Halloween than the second. Here we are sitting in our Halloween costumes. Red over there on the couch. How are we doing in our beekeeper suit?
We're feeling great. Ready to save the bees, baby.
Yeah, that's right. And in the quad box today is, boy, we brought the heat. Hunter with his cactus costume. And Chase, can you explain what the hell is that?
Spencer Lee.
Okay. Can I see a stance out of you? Can I see what's going on there? Oh, up on the chair would have been insane. Oh, okay. I see you, Hunter, with the pose there, boys. If you are listening on Spotify, make sure you check us out on YouTube. I'm just going to leave the plug there as we jump right on into Talking 25. Things are heating up as we near the end of the season here. And not only our rankings, still in that AP, but we are definitely getting some big matchups, not only last week, but this week. We'll dive into that in a second. But before we do, first off, I want to go to you, Red. What was it like watching the Nebraska Cornhuskers keep it close with Ohio State?
Stressful. It was just not ideal, really, to be honest with you. Like, the whole time, it was like, we actually might pull this off. We might do this. The officiating was horrible, which I don't like to blame officiating, but I saw a TikTok montage of all the missed calls, and it made me feel bad again. Nebraska, they got to just get one more win on this year. They have UCLA this week. They're sitting at 5 wins right now. UCLA would make them bowl eligible if they can win that game. So for Nebraska, it was nice to see them play well against a pretty good team.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of questions to be answered, specifically on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, Nebraska definitely looked, I thought, pretty solid, considering the week before when they got absolutely annihilated by Indiana. And we'll dive into that in just a second. But before we do, first, I would like to get to Hunter, as you did attend a pretty monumental game down there in College Station, I believe, is where that Texas A&M LSU showdown went down. There was a lot of videos all over the internet. That was an absolutely electric matchup. Can you break it down for me? What was it like inside the stadium? Obviously, Texas A&M gets the win. That's big time power at the beginning of that whole thing. Was absolutely phenomenal. What was it like from your perspective?
I've seen people, but I have never seen that many people in one congested spot. This was
108,000, right?
109. This was the third most attended game in College Station history. So this was a very big game, and obviously one that everybody was glad to see if you're an Aggie fan. I was wearing yellow and purple, rooting for the Tigers because I love being an away fan and I have no ties to the Aggies. I was in a nice little press box sitting with my boy, drinking some beers at his season ticket spots, and people were getting very angry at me. And I was after we were walking out of the stadium after LSU lost, I was like, how can I spin this to still make the Aggies mad? Right. And the Aggies have this tradition where they wear class rings. And the way to earn it is you have to drink down an entire pitcher of beer and get your class ring out. So I said, good luck having no national championship. And then he was like, have fun living in 2019, you pussy. And then basically I said back to him, I said, have fun trying to get a ring that's not from the bottom of a pitcher. And that just took him into a spiral. The cop was trying to separate him. And then another thing I found out that people don't like is when you say, yeah, walk away while they're walking away. So, it was just a crazy event. I heard that there was about 35 people that were ejected from the game. And on North Street after the game, there's another 50 arrested. So Just a crazy event overall.
I would say it's surprising to me that you were not one of those 50, the way you're yapping at those Aggies. But, I was with you. I definitely put money down on LSU. I was let down. That was not the most fun thing, but certainly what was fun was watching Iowa State get the win this week, won 1,000,000 against the bye. That was awesome. Hunter had a great time at the Texas A&M game. And then Red, it's got to be promising to see Nebraska, at least keeping it close with OSU. And Chase, can you tell me a little bit about your weekend? I don't know exactly what you did. Obviously looked super handsome with that new stash, and damn, looking kind of buff too, considering the marathon training we're doing. What did you watch this weekend?
I was at the Iowa Northwestern game. And it was quite the show.
Shit show? Is that what you meant to say?
No. It was quite the show by the Iowa Hawkeyes. Brendan Sullivan got put in. Cade McNamara benched, and Brendan will start next week. And then we had a 85 touchdown punt return by our close friend Caden Weegan.
Friend of the program. Yes, thank you, Caden, for doing that for us. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It was quite electric. We looked very good this week.
Chase, did you see in the end zone?
Everybody's going to look good when they play the Vanderbilt of the Big Ten. There's not really much going on.
Yeah, well,
Vanderbilt beat Alabama, so
yeah,
Northwestern isn't.
Vanderbilt's going to be Vanderbilt, and Northwestern will be Northwestern.
It's fine.
It's kind of it's just the story, right? That's every conference has to have that team. In the Big 12, it's TCU. Did you see, Chase, that the once Caden ran into the end zone, he threw up the MOA, and he was like, shout out my guys over in the Marv On Air studio. That was really cool. Appreciate him for that. I couldn't thank him enough.
Awesome.
That was really cool to see him get to take one back. His speed was on full display there. A couple other games happened last weekend, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't get to catch them, so I'm not really going to talk about them. They weren't on my feed, I guess is the best way to say it. Moving forward, we've got our top 8 or so here. Kind of want to talk a little bit about the Hoosiers at 13. Chase, that's a Big Ten team, I believe. What do you make of them? I feel like they were ranked way too low.
Yeah, they're a really good team. They looked great against Nebraska 2 weeks ago, and then pretty good this week as well. I don't actually know who they played.
They played a team, I think someone that played football, as far as I know.
But I know they got the win.
Washington.
So Washington, which is an okay team, not super great, but
it's a team with no girls.
I think they should be ranked higher at the moment. but especially seeing how Nebraska put up a fight against Ohio State and Indiana just absolutely kicked the shit out of them. They probably should be ranked higher, but I think this week going into East Lansing against the Michigan State team, who's pretty fired up right now, kind of on a roll, I think it could be a spot that they drop one.
Interesting. That's a bold prediction. I think Indiana might just cruise its way to the Big Ten title there. They are a very good team. I don't know. 13, obviously, to me, is way too low. But looking at this top 8 here, I say the top 8 for one particular reason. The team at 8. Notre Dame. What the fuck? First off, I just want to be as blunt as I can. Red, can you break this down for me? Do they deserve to be that high? Because I'm telling you right now, they don't.
Yeah, it's weird. A lot of people are like, oh, they lost at home to Northern Illinois. That should count as something. That's typically what the people who are kind of like in that 10 to 15 range are saying. Your Iowa States, BYUs, Alabamas, they're like, well, they lost to Northern Illinois. Their best win is Texas A&M, who right now is undefeated in conference play and looking like they might make the SEC championship game depending on how the rest of their season shakes out. So we've already kind of started to see that big national program bias, it feels like, with Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is kind of this like storied program, so it does feel like we're seeing that a little bit. And their only real win is against Texas A&M at the beginning of the year when A&M, I would say, wasn't at their full strength and weren't playing as good as they are right now. So I don't like Notre Dame being that high, but at the same time, it's something we should have expected, honestly.
I mean, I'm not surprised at all, but I am certainly pissed off. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. They should not be that high. But another team that shouldn't be that high is BYU. They are ahead of ISU right now, Iowa State, if you will. That definitely annoyed me. But you know what? I'm not going to let it get to me because we did have a bye week. I think it's fine. You mentioned Texas A&M potentially going to take the SEC there at undefeated in conference play. I believe they're the only ones at this time. So we've got Texas A&M coming out of the SEC, Indiana coming out of the Big Ten, ISU coming out of the Big 12, and then who do we have coming out of the ACC? Because there is one team in particular we do specifically like.
Yeah, right now, Clemson and Miami are both undefeated in conference play. Miami obviously undefeated overall. But then in that 3 and 4 spot in the ACC is SMU and Pitt. Both teams have no conference losses, which is important to note.
Yes.
And so they play this week. One of them is going to catch a conference loss. It's inevitable. That's how playing a game works against each other. So I think we're going to find out a lot about one of those teams just because they'll continue to be undefeated and continue to be battling Clemson and Miami for the bid from the ACC. Because the ACC feels like probably a one bid league.
Yes.
The Big 12, I think you can make an argument that 2 teams should get in. ACC, I think they're only probably getting 1 in.
Yeah.
So winning that conference championship is going to be very important for any team in the ACC.
Agreed. And so you, before the season, who did you call coming out of the ACC?
I said SMU.
Okay, that's a bold prediction, and I definitely could see it happening. Now, if you recall, Marv On Air fans out there, we've been doing this a few weeks now. I think we're like 9 weeks or 10 weeks maybe into this. Hunter joined us a couple weeks into this, okay?
Yep.
So he has not been on camera, the first 4 weeks or so or whatever it was. I don't know the exact number. It's not really important to this conversation, but he did mention before the show that, Hunter, you had a prediction of who's going to win the Big 12. Who was that and why?
Well, I said it's going to be BYU, and everybody called me crazy, but BYU is just a notoriously raw team, in my opinion. Hey, that's just what I'm stating. And they kicked the shit out of K-State. Everybody's forgetting about that win. They're like, why are they ranked higher than Iowa State? They haven't had it. Iowa State hasn't had a good win like today, except for, of course, you're going to say, Baylor.
Yeah, well, Baylor's best team in the
country.
nation. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, continue.
But BYU is the only good team that's really stepped up and put in some work into the Big 12 wins.
They definitely have a better resume.
That's a ridiculous take.
Iowa State's best win is an unranked Iowa team.
If you give Iowa State anyone in the entire nation, give me Northern Illinois, give me Northwestern, give me Vanderbilt, any of these goated teams in college football, we would destroy them. End to end. It wouldn't even be close. Sometimes we keep a little close just to keep the fans engaged. That's it. Rocco knows he's an entertainer, okay? He's out there on the field having fun, slinging the rock, dodging the tacklers. He's having fun, but at the end of the day, they know they're going to win, and so do I. ISU's win the national title. That's all there is to it. Chase, before we move forward, the OSU Penn State game. Okay, this game going to be huge, all right? Obviously, 3 versus 4 at the home of the, was it the Cougars, right? Penn State Cougars?
Nittany Lions.
Nittany Lions.
That's what I said.
Same kind.
Yeah, so Chase, can you break down for me why are they not playing this at night? I feel like this has to be a whiteout game.
Yeah, I mean, playing it at 11 o'clock is kind of crazy in my opinion, but maybe they think they can catch Ohio State a little tired in the morning. And I know Penn State likes to get a little rowdy, so their fans are going to be out and about anyway. I don't know. This game screams whiteout, big whiteout victory in 4-3 matchup, but maybe they're intimidated and scared they'd lose that night and don't want to lose a whiteout game.
Yeah, that's
Typically the whiteout game is a little bit earlier on in the year.
for sure.
Just because I don't know if they do that for like ordering shirts reasons. That would be kind of be my guess. Would definitely factor into it. So yeah, I think they didn't want to waste their whiteout on a game. They're like, we could lose this.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Another
Chase,
thing I was thinking about too. I want to
Go
get
ahead, Hunter.
Redbone. You're a little meteorologist. You might know the snow up there a little bit better. But is it possible that it would snow in Penn State in the morning? We might have a potential snow game here.
Ooh, wow.
I'm not sure. We can actually check that real quick.
As Red goes to the Weather Channel there, really quick, Chase, I have a question for you. As you're wearing the singlet, I am, as far as I know, you wrestled in high school. Did you wrestle better in the morning or when we had those night duels?
It's actually a good question. I really never thought about it. I was more of a night duel type of guy. I feel like get a whole day of school in where I just probably did nothing during the school day and then come out, eat some food after weigh-ins and get ready to roll, especially when it's under the spotlight in
Warehouse on Walnut?
Yes.
The new
That
warehouse.
was money.
New.
Money.
Yeah, no, the reason I ask is because whenever we would go to those tournaments, we get on the bus at literally 4:30 in the morning, it felt like. And I'm just dead tired. We get there and maybe I'm not cutting weight depending on the year. It did not matter. I was completely tired every single time. And I wonder, maybe that does play into the roles here. Red, do you have the weather up in State College?
57 and sunny. So I'm going to say no chance of snow in this one.
Hey, depends. Maybe there will be a high chance of snow depending on
Ronnie
the fan.
James does change the weather as he sees fit, so maybe he wants to see a snow game.
True. That is something to note. Bronny James has been a big weather guy recently.
Big weather guy.
Yeah, we'll have to touch on that in just a little bit. I don't think I have any more college football, but I don't want to step on anyone's toes here. Do we have anything else we need to note?
I think Penn State wins this game outright.
Okay.
I think Ohio State, Indiana, I think is probably better than Ohio State. I think that Nebraska played Ohio State close. It's not being talked about enough that Nebraska held them to 54 yards rushing. That's Travion Henderson and Judkins.
Yes.
Quinshon Judkins.
Yes.
Two very good running backs, but their O-line is extremely injured right now. I think they're on their third string left tackle, and they're maybe down a guard on the year. So their rushing attack has definitely lost some of that luster it had early on in the year. So I like Penn State here outright.
Interesting. I think if I'm looking at a bet on the slate here, it's Iowa State minus 560 against Texas Tech, our homecoming game. That'll be a fun game. We're going to be showing out for that. Other than that, I think we are good on college football, and it is time for TTTTTTLTH, Texas Trivia Time with table tennis legend, the Hunter Ring. Hunter, what do you have for us this week?
All right, so there could be some a little bit of debate with this, but I'm going off Bleacher Report's top 20. Okay.
Okay.
So the question is, there's current players in the NFL. Which ones are pretty much a lock for the Hall of Fame? And I'll just give you guys one position, quarterback. Easy, right?
Okay.
Who's your quarterback that's going to the Hall of Fame right now?
Do we just get a point for getting one right, or do we need to guess all 20?
No, you don't have to
I've
guess
always
all
said
20. You have to guess one.
I've always said the best trivia questions are one that are completely subjective and totally opinion.
Yeah, pretty much. That's why
So
we're
quarterback, I'm going to go Patrick Mahomes
That's
here.
a fair bet. Yeah, we got Patrick
there
on
you
there.
go. And then there is another quarterback if you guys want.
Rodgers.
There you go. All right, let's go.
2 for 2. We're on a hot streak.
Let's go offensive line.
Ooh, good.
Lane
one.
Johnson.
No Lane Johnson.
I think
That's
so.
wrong then.
Quentin
I
Nelson.
think he's
Trent Williams.
Trent Williams. There you go. That'll boy,
a
brother.
good one.
Lane Johnson's
linebacker.
also going to be in the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yes.
sure.
Linebacker.
Fred Warner.
Lamar Davis.
Levante
No.
David.
No.
Greenlaw.
No.
It's like all the linebackers I know.
12-year veteran.
Oh, that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. I do my linebackers sorted by years played.
12 years. Ooh, gosh.
What's
What's his
Just
name
team.
start with?
Roquan Smith?
I like that. He has not 12 years.
TJ Watt. Is he considered a linebacker?
Yeah,
No,
Myles
he's
Garrett.
not, but he's on here. TJ Watt's on here.
Micah Parsons.
That's a good one. He's not been
Not
in
Michael
the league that long.
Not 12 years though. Yeah.
Hmm.
Commanders.
How many people play linebacker in the NFL? Like
Commanders.
5 or 6?
Six? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
6 sounds accurate.
Oh, Bobby Wagner.
There you go, Chase. Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's still playing. Who's he play for?
Is that Commanders?
Yeah, dude. Just got
Really?
went over there with Eckler and Ben Nickel
Wow.
out of Iowa State.
Okay.
Yeah, they got a legendary program right now.
Good for them.
anybody got a guard from the NFC East?
How many guards?
Get off linemen.
There's like
Okay,
3 or 4.
so-
There's 3 or 4 guards.
It's Zach Mark from the Cowboys, 7-time All-Pro.
That's,
That was the name I was looking for.
It was on the tip of my tongue.
I couldn't figure out. I figured it was the Cowboys.
All right, there is another edge that's not TJ Watt,
Myles Garrett.
not Myles Garrett.
Chris Jones? Is Chris Jones on that?
He was a Super Bowl MVP.
Really? Okay. Yeah, that's I know who I'm thinking about. It's what's his name? Oh wait, is he retired? Yeah, he retired.
When was
Von
the
Miller
last time?
retired.
No, he's not. I thought he was like last week.
No,
It
Vaughn
is
plays
Von
for the Bills.
Oh,
Yeah, it is
Good
okay,
pull.
so Vaughn.
Good pull.
Yeah.
Good pull.
All right, how about a tight end?
Well, I'm surprised there's only one.
There's only one, Kelsey.
Kelsey.
I guess playing right now.
let's
Yeah,
go.
probably.
Let's go 2 wide receivers and then a kicker.
Kicker. I don't know. Older guy.
Tucker.
Well,
It's
kicker's
Justin
Justin
Oh yeah,
Tucker.
Tucker. Yeah, good call.
It's Jay Tucker. It's Jay
Receiver. What are the require? Because like Justin Jefferson will probably end up in the Hall of Fame, but
He hasn't
is he not played
enough
long
for
enough
that.
for this list?
Tucker. No,
Probably
no.
not.
These guys are like
Interesting.
locked.
Yeah,
Like-
got to be older guys. Maybe
D-Hop?
Devontae Adams. D-Hop probably a good one.
Yeah, Devontae Adams. Not D-Hop. He's
I
like
figured he might be. He's like a fringe guy. He might not make it in the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame.
Devontae doesn't feel like he's done much
Then,
more than D-Hop though.
And then who's like our last guy?
Last wide
I
receiver.
mean, yeah.
Hmm.
But actually, let's go 2. Both of these have played in a Super Bowl. One of them won
Okay.
it.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, it's got to be Hill.
Yeah, well, Tyreek Hill, but he's too low on this list.
So that one does not count.
I wouldn't count that
Okay.
over this other guy.
Cooper Cup.
Good one.
Not Cooper Cup.
Triple
That's a
crown?
good one, though.
Yeah, I feel like he'll be in.
He'll be.
He'll
Easy.
probably be in.
Speaking of the Aggies,
Mike Evans.
yeah, there you go.
That's a good one.
And
He's
we're done
putting
with
up
this
insane
list.
numbers. Okay, well, thank you, Hunter, for that. That was probably our best run through.
Our best trivia,
Yeah,
and
that-
it wasn't even trivia.
It was, yeah. I mean, shout
I
out.
like it. We're
Hunter.
just naming dudes.
I mean, hey, what's better than a couple guys just naming old
Guys naming guys.
guys naming dudes? What else can you ask for?
This episode of Marv On Air is brought to you by West Ames IV. West Ames IV is your one-stop shop for all things grocery and household items. West Ames IV provides you with a great customer experience and premium products all in an easy and convenient way. You can shop in-store, sign up for curbside pickup, or even get your groceries delivered right to your door. Here at Marv On Air, we love IV and we know you will too. Stop by West Ames IV today, where there's a helpful smile in every aisle. Now, here's Zero to Hero of the Week. Chase, you dirty dog. Yeah.
Get fired up for some Zero to Hero as we break down all of the biggest things around the sports world. We're going to start it off with a zero this week. Red, will you please tell me who your zero is for this spooky Halloween episode of Marv On Air?
Yeah, my zero of the week is the Dwayne Wade statue. I don't know if you've seen this.
That
We
thing was
don't have a
fucking scary,
graphic
low-key.
we can pop up, but that looked like something straight out of a scary movie. So the D Wade statue looked nothing like them. I saw some people on Twitter being like, they at least got the head shape right, but the face, like, It honestly could be either LeBron or like Pat Riley. I have no idea who it is. It's supposedly D Wade. It looks nothing like him. My 0 of the week is the sculptors of the Dwayne Wade statue.
Allegedly, he went in while it was being made and said, like, "Oh, this looks good," and then they totally botched it. Like in between him seeing it in the creation phase and then seeing it being unveiled, and he goes, "Who is that?
Who is that guy?"
Yeah, fucking unreal. That one was boy, that was a bad beat. My 0 for the week is going to be the NFL catch rule. We never really knew what was going on before, and this week we learned that 2 foot does not equal 2 feet. What was his name? I'm blanking on it.
George Pickens.
2 right feet down in the end zone. Unreal catch. When he brings the ball down, I'm watching it live. I'm like, God damn, how did he hang on to that ball? And then come to find out, they're like, oh, you can do something more athletic than get both your feet in bounds. You can get 1 foot in twice before you get your other foot in. That's not a catch. We don't like that. That's no fun at all. Well, that's the name of their fucking league, the No Fun League. That wasn't awesome. Credits George Pickens for, blazing that trail, but I was not a huge fan of them taking that away.
No, it was honestly interesting. Nobody knew. I honestly thought it should have counted. I don't see why not. It's probably harder to do, I'd imagine, but whatever. NFL wouldn't expect anything less.
It should not have counted. 2
Thank you,
feet
Mr. Cactus.
have to be in. 1 foot does not equal 2 feet. Doesn't make any sense. 2 steps, even though it's 1 foot, that should not count.
I think it should count.
That definitely should count. What are you talking about?
No.
It's technically a foot in twice equals 2 feet.
Both feet in. They never said 1 foot.
1 foot times 2 times equals 2 feet.
Great math.
You said this is the NFL, the No Fun League, but you should also incorporate that this is not college football. You should have 2 feet in and you should be a professional.
You know what?
I think you can make a good argument they should just go to 1 foot.
God, make sure you're professional.
Yeah, you should be a professional. Take it from the cactus.
Oh, the NFL has nothing on the NCAA. That is for sure. Ole Moo winning it all. Chase, who's your 0 of the week?
My 0 is the Yankee fans that I consider scumbags because they tried to rip the ball out of Mookie Betts' hands, and then when they got confronted by security, like, no, my line, he can't cross it. Ridiculous. They've ended up being called out anyway. They lost their seats, but I just thought it was an interesting situation there. I don't like it. The way they grabbed his arm is probably a little too far.
Yeah, I don't think it was far enough, honestly. I think they should have went until they had that ball, his glove. Honestly, they should have just pulled him up into the stands. But the people who are saying, like, this isn't bad, one of their main reasons is it was a Yankee fan who did it, which I understand. I also hate the Yankees. But at the same time, if you're a fan in that position, it's the World Series. Your team needs a spark.
Yeah.
That was just a selfless move by those brothers. Like, it was beautiful. They knew what they had to do. They probably said it ahead of time, like, hey, if the ball comes our way, we're going to make sure it gets out. And they went out and they tried to do it, respected them.
Yeah,
Great sports fans.
Gronk said that's like...
No, they did not. That's bullshit. They did not discuss that beforehand. That's just some Yankee-ass bullshit.
If Redden and Chase were sitting out there in the baseball stadium bored as fuck because they don't like baseball. Baseball is boring. That's what they'd be talking about. What are we going to do when the ball comes our way?
A World Series game, I guess.
Well, I was going to – this is all I have to add.
No other fan base in the country would do that except for the Eagles and the Yankees.
That's valid. I don't mind that take. The one thing I would like to add to that is if the Yankees win the World Series, those two need rings. Period.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Statues. They deserve statues.
Good call. I mean, they're the reason they won that game. Like, honestly, they really are. Chase.
Weren't they up by like 5?
That was in the first inning, bottom of the first.
Oh, okay.
They're down 2-0.
Because I thought the Dodgers were going to sweep.
Yeah, well, it's the series is still alive. Hunter, what is your 0 this week?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that, Marv. My 0 by far is the Michigan tight end after his post-game interview of beating Michigan State, where he's like, yeah, little bro gonna do little bro things. You can't say that that's your little bro. You were both 4-3 going into the game. That's not your little bro. That's your twin. That's your twin. And it's just a classic Big Ten education to think that way. And the only people that would think that way, like that wouldn't in the Big Ten, would be like Northwestern or USC or UCLA. Those are the only schools that would not think in that direction at all. Not these schools like Michigan that accept, 8 out of 10 kids that apply, and the 2 that don't get in are in prison.
Jeez.
I'm not sure that like admission percentage is something that Michigan normally gets. Yeah, Michigan, they let anybody in. Their acceptance rate through the roof.
I think that's the best way that you can look at intelligence at a Division I school. Michigan cannot talk when all you got to do is sign your name on a napkin and mail it to them, and they say, "Here you go. Here's a scholarship to come put our place full ride."
Michigan's acceptance rate is 17.7%.
At the University of Michigan? Okay, well, I guess, people that cheer for Iowa can't read, and you must be dyslexic.
That's like a third of TCU's rate. TCU's 43%.
You can't say anything when you go to Iowa State and cheer for Nebraska. Like, there's nothing that you can say there.
Oh, my God.
Hey,
I
in
respect
fairness,
it.
Iowa State's is like 90.
Yeah, Iowa State, we have no room to talk. And you know what? We don't claim to, honestly.
But going at Michigan for their acceptance rate is wild.
Hey, I applied to Iowa State and I applied to TCU. Iowa State got back to me in an hour with an automated email saying, "Congratulations, here you go."
They dropped a banner for you.
I only applied to 2 schools, actually, and it was Iowa State and Michigan. Got into both.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shout out Red.
I know.
Okay. I only applied
That
to
is
one.
nothing about your academics. That might even say that.
They allow everyone besides convicts in, apparently.
Apparently. Oh, shit. All right, moving forward, I got my 0 for the week here. I'm going to go with Jameis Winston. He is the heartbeat of the NFL. This guy is the living lifeblood of the Browns now. All of the guys are rallying around him due to his pregame and postgame comments, speeches, if you will. The guy's electric on a mic. The guy's electric on the field. You can't not like the guy, okay? In particular, I'm referring to a quote in the tunnel before they go out on the field when he says, "Hey, rep the names on your back. Rep the names on your helmet. Oh, we ain't got no decals. Rep the Browns." I mean, that's unreal. That is absolutely unreal situational awareness from Jameis Winston to realize, hey, we don't have anything on our helmet. We got to go with the actual name of the team, the Browns. Then they win, okay? Nobody expected this. The Browns coming out and defeating the Ravens in an absolute thriller was a lot of fun, obviously, because Jameis Winston was on the field. And he starts just ripping Eminem quotes, quote and lose yourself. I mean, how can you not like this guy?
Jameis is the best. Like, that's why we've been cheering for him all year. All of his interviews, electric.
Yeah, he's like, and I'm going to pray for him. I'm going to pray for his leg. That's all time. That's all time. That's one of the greatest things I think I've ever heard in, national football, hot mic cinema.
I mean, I hope to God one day to be as hot on the mic as Jameis Winston is. And he doesn't unintentionally, too.
Oh, completely unintentionally.
He's just ripping them. What's your hero for the week here, Red?
My hero of the week here is Mike Elko. Mike Elko, who for those who do not know, is the Texas A&M head coach, formerly the Duke head coach. He had a quote this week where I don't have it pulled up. That was a mistake by me. But basically he went through and said, this isn't, this football program isn't ran by a bunch of politicians or fast talkers or anything like that. This is a program of real football guys. Well, that's interesting of note. One, because they just played LSU, whose head coach is Brian Kelly, famously probably the most politician-esque head coach in the world.
Yeah.
That dude is just a sleazebag. You can just tell. His father, Brian Kelly's father, is a politician, so the similarities are there. And then he also said something like fast talking, something like that. Well, A&M's previous coach, Jimbo Fisher, kind of famously known to be a fast-talking guy. So my hero of the week is Mike Elko for pretty much saying, hey, I'm a football guy. I'm a football coach. I'm not worried about anything else. I'm not some fast-talking politician. Mike Elko.
We're not here for clicks. We're here for wins.
Exactly.
That's exactly what he thought. Interesting timing, too, with the NFL trade deadline coming up on Tuesday or Wednesday next week. I think that's the biggest thing that's happening next week as far as I know. There might be something else I'm not quite thinking of. But, Chase, who is your hero this week?
What was that?
I couldn't have been.
There you go,
Dude,
Chase.
this is the spookiest episode of Marv On Air we've had yet. I couldn't have been the only one that heard that.
I heard that. My hero was Caden Weegan.
Friend of the program.
A good friend, very good friend of the program. We all graduated with him. Yeah, he really showed off his speed this weekend, taking one to the house, 85 yards. It was really cool to watch. He deserves it. It was not a matter of if, it was when. Congrats to him. I expect a couple more out of him.
A lot more, to be honest.
J-E-T, Jet Region.
Hey, 2 more of those
Yeah.
touchdown Delios, and he's looking pretty good to win that Jet Award. That's all I'm
And
saying.
he's second for average return yards, which is crazy, and that just pretty much talks about Iowa's defense more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, we're just
Did you
doing
see a celebration?
What?
He did the jet after he scored.
I think that was right after he did. I think that was right after he did the MOA celebration. I think I know which one you're talking about.
It was right after he almost dropped the ball before getting into the end zone. I cannot express to you how close that looked in real time.
No.
And he also might have stepped out. Might have.
No, he did not step out. He did not.
Might have stepped
Chris
out.
was there. He didn't step
What
out.
was the call on the field, Redden? What was
It's
the
all
call
right.
on the field?
Exactly.
It's redemption for last year.
That's true. Makeup call.
Very true.
Hunter,
Great.
your hero for the week.
My hero, before I thought about it while you guys were talking, it was Shaq talking on what's her face's
Angel
podcast.
Reese's podcast.
Yeah, Angel Reese's podcast, talking about how more people watch the WNBA. Everybody was dunking in booty shorts. But now that I'm thinking about it, that might have not been like my hero. I would say that's probably let's just go with live SEC football. I think that experiencing my first game in College Station in front of 109,000 people, seeing that many people cheer with towels and the stadium actually physically shake just from the sound of cheers was insane to me. With that being said, they did play Mo Bamba about 30 million times, and it's like, bro, you're not Penn State, zip it. But maybe you are, and you probably would kill Penn State and any other Big Ten team in the nation.
Fair enough. That is fair. I don't know if I can argue with that. That whiteout game we went to last year was.
It's weird. Like when you get to games with that many people and it's that big of an environment and that big of a spot, it just feels different. It's wild. It truly is. Like it's different.
It makes me
than
want to
going
bring
any
back
other
the
game.
Coliseum. It makes me want to bring back the Coliseum and get live gladiator fights again. But I just don't think I can see that happening. Maybe over in Portugal, they'd be willing to put your life on the line and sign a contract. I think John Jones would do that tomorrow. And I think we could sell a lot of tickets, but I just can't see, putting your life on the line, whatever happened for us. But if we did, just imagine that plus SEC football, and it would just get absolutely insane.
It's an environment unlike any other. And this last week, not last week, because last week was the bye, but the week before that, Jack Trice was absolutely rocking when we defeated UCF.
Oh my God! Don't even compare.
It was.
Stop.
Swear.
Stop.
They sent in, we got actual notifications that said, hey, next game, you guys can't be shaking the stadium like that because we're probably going to have to reinforce all of our beams, everything. We can't, this is a safety measure. So I do look forward to this week destroying Texas
For an engineering
Tech.
school, they probably have one of the worst engineered stadiums in the entire country.
That's a
I throw
crazy
Vanderbilt's little shack up there against the one in Ames.
I don't think he's wrong.
I mean, I don't like how flat it is, but other than that, I mean, it is an absolutely electric atmosphere. I don't think you can argue with that.
I think the only electric part about Jack Trice is leaving it.
Well, that's true. I mean, as a TCU fan, the only time you've lost.
Oh, he comes back. He comes back.
Yeah, well, I was about to take you off the screen, but Red kind of saved me there. So you can stay on for this outro. Thank you so much for being with us on this Halloween spooky episode of Marv On Air. Be sure to come back next week when we break down everything that happens between now and then. With a whole week in between, there is no shortage of stories. In the meantime, be sure to check out our socials on Instagram. If you're watching this on YouTube, you know where you're at, and then obviously on Twitter. And we do have the podcast as well. If you're listening on there, be sure to leave a review. That's mucho apreciado. From the Texas man, Cacti himself, Senor Takedown in the singlet, the Beekeeper. Now, to sign us off.
Deuces.